In this session, we're going to explore leg yielding a little bit further. In the original Happy Horse, we talked about turn on the forehand and using leg yield as a loosening, stretching, relaxing exercise. And we also talked about different places and patterns in the arena where you can do leg yielding, as well as the aids for leg yielding. And then also in this expanded content, we talked about using leg yielding to help your horse establish a more solid connection to that outside rein. But now we're going to look at some more common problems that you might run into with your leg yielding, and I'm going to give you some more solutions to add to your toolbox. And to help me, I have Megan Marie, say hi to everybody, and Tootie, who's going to be our wonderful demonstrator. So what I wanted to mention is in the original Happy Horse, one of the things that I said to you, if you weren't getting a steep enough angle, in other words, your horse wasn't crossing enough with the legs, so you weren't getting the maximum benefit of leg yielding as a loosening, stretching, toe-touching type exercise, I talked about using an opening inside rein to help ricochet the hindquarters away from that inside rein. But along those lines, I want to mention something about putting the horse in front of the driving aids. Now you know that the horse should be in front of all of your driving aids. Your inner leg on the girth asking for engagement, the two legs for a transition, your cluck, your driving seat. So the horse should be in front of all those aids, but your horse should also be in front of the leg that comes behind the girth that says go sideways. And I think that this is a very common mistake that people make. They go to do the leg yields and they bring the leg back. They have one leg on the girth to say go forward and one leg back to say go sideways. So basically you're saying go sideways and forward at the same time, which is what you're doing with your lateral work. But they press, they push with the leg that's behind the girth. And what happens if you squeeze hard with the leg that's behind the girth is the harder you squeeze, the more your body falls in the direction of the leg that you're squeezing with. So you end up giving your horse contradictory signals. Your leg is saying go that way, but your body weight is saying I won't let you go that way. So it's very important that you don't use pressure of your leg behind the girth to ask the horse to go sideways. Instead, you want your horse to go sideways from the position, the placement of your leg behind the girth. And basically, we do that the same way that we teach the horse to be in front of the leg. We ask a question. We don't modify the question. We don't adjust the question by repeating it or making it stronger. If we don't get the answer we want, you make a correction. And the correction, remember, always depends on the sensitivity of your horse. So depending on your horse's nature, character, sensitivity, you might bump, bump, bump with that leg or tap, tap, tap with the whip or even a little bit of both to get the amount of angle that you want. But remember, never leave a question about being reactive to your driving aids or to any of your aids with the question, with a correction. Always go back and retest with the aid that you want. If you don't retest, the horse thinks, oh, I don't have to pay any attention to you unless you shout with your aids. So if you've had to make a correction, go back and retest. So Megan, just in the walk, just start up here by H and do a head to the wall leg yield. And what you're going to do is bring your right leg behind the girth, and Tootie's going to pretty much ignore you or only give you a little bit of an angle. And then you're going to make a correction by either tap, tap, tap with the whip or bump, bump, bump with your right leg behind the girth. So now you're asking and it's not enough angle, so make a correction, bump, bump, bump. Good. Now immediately straighten and retest. Bring your leg back. And I would bump, bump, bump there because it was better, but it was not 100%. And straighten and retest. And tell her, good girl, very good. Then you can come back up here again. So you see, it's just like putting the horse in front of the leg, that if you give a correction and you retest and you find yourself saying, well, that was better, or that was pretty good, or that was good for her, it's not good enough. You want to know that you don't have to press with that leg. Just the position of that leg behind the girth is going to give you that 40-degree angle so that the horse is crossing high up on the knees and high up on the hocks. Now, another thing that we talked about a lot is that horses are like people, and they're not ambidextrous. They're left-handed or right-handed. They have a soft side and a hard side. Another way to say that is they have a hollow side and a stiff side. Now, Megan, I can sort of tell by watching her walk on a circle, but which is Tootie's hollow side, her soft side?
Her left side's her hollow, her right is her stiff.
Yeah, so Tootie basically likes to be in this position. Her left side is her hollow side, and her right side is her stiff side. So what I would like you, if Megan were to do traditional leg yielding in both directions, where the spine of the horse is straight and there's a little flexion at the pole away from the direction of movement, that's not going to help this horse. Now, that's what you have to do in competition, but remember, training is different than competition. Training is about fixing problems, and competition is about hiding problems. So it's two different hats that you have to wear when you're training. So in order to have your competition leg yield become a super leg yield, you wouldn't train the leg yield the way you're going to ride it in competition. You are going to adjust, modify your aids for the position of the horse so that eventually she can do it correctly. But what I'd like people to see is what a hollow horse would tend to do when you leg yield, in this case, away from your left leg. So if you could walk or trot down, whatever you want to do, and then either walk or even rise and trot if you want to do that. I'd like you to leg yield away from your left leg, her hollow side, and show how much she likes to overbend her neck. And what you'll see, people, is the more the horse overbends her neck, the less she crosses her legs. Good. A little higher with the pole if you can. And bend the neck a little more. Yeah. Now this is what the horse would tend to do. You can walk there for a second. Oh, great. That's what a horse would tend to do when you leg yield away from the leg that's on their hollow side. And the more they bend at the base of their neck, the less the legs cross. And once again, you lose all those wonderful loosening, stretching, suppling, toe-touching benefits of a leg yield. So we want to modify traditional leg yield in schooling. So when you leg yield away from the leg that's on the hollow side, you have one of two choices. You can either go with no flexion, which means her chin is lined up directly in front of the crease in the middle of her chest, or you could turn your right wrist and ask her to flex in the direction she's going. Now this is different from a half pass because we're not bending her body. We're still keeping her straight in the body but counter flexing at the pole. But our goal is to keep her spine absolutely straight rather than letting her collapse into that left bend position. So it's your choice. You can either go no flexion, or if I see when you're doing that she's still a little bit bending, I'll say flex her to the right and then ask for counterflexion. Okay. So basically the same thing you just did, and you can do that in rising trot as well. Okay, so no flexion, look where you're going. Good, and now counterflexion. It was, yeah, good. Can you feel how that squared her shoulders up just a little bit more? And then you can walk there. So it really wasn't bad when she just had her with no flexion, but I could feel her wanting to bulge out that right shoulder just a hair. So we changed it from no flexion, the face just in the middle of the chest, to flexing in the direction she was going to the right, and that squared up the horse's shoulders so she could get a better benefit from the leg yield. Now, obviously, if she's hollow on the left, it's a flip side of the same coin. She's stiff to the right. So we want to do in schooling the opposite of what she wants to do with her body. Now think about it. If this is the position of Tootie's body just generally, she probably stands 23 hours of the day in this position, and you have 1 hour a day to try to counteract that. And so when she's in this position, a lot of riders think, ugh, my horse is so stiff to the right, my horse is so stiff to the right, my horse doesn't want to bend to the right side is the hard side, I hate the right side. But this is the issue. The left side, the shortened, contracted muscles on the left side of the body make it difficult for the horse to bend to the right. So we're going to modify the leg yielding when we go to the right so that we do a leg yield with a bend in an effort to elongate and stretch those muscles on the left side of the body. Now, what we're going to see, probably what your horse will do, and I'll ask Megan to do this for me, is because it's difficult for her to stretch that left side of her body, she doesn't want to bend to the right, what the horse usually tries to do is they will give you their neck. They will bend in the neck, but the hindquarters will go out to the left because they don't want to bend around your right leg. So here's what we're going to do that first so we can see that, and maybe you can do it coming down the center line so we can get a good angle on that as you go over to the left there. You're going to do that first. You're going to bend her in front of the saddle so her neck will bend, but you're going to let her haunches go to the left. Then what we're thinking of when we correct it is we want to think sort of we're on an arc of a 10-meter circle, or you're thinking I'm doing shoulder in front and haunches in behind, but you want to have the horse curved around your inner leg from pole to tail. And if we had freeze frame photography, what you want to strive for is that rather than her front legs meeting the track a little before the hind legs, which is what we normally do in leg yielding, her barrel would get to the track because you're holding the front end back and she's curved around your leg, and her nose and her hips are almost in the same plane, but she's leading with her barrel. You get that?
Yep.
So let's go down to the other end, and you can do that rising if you want, but do it from the center line so we get to see it more. And you're going to do it wrong first. You're going to bend her neck to the right and let her haunches fall to the left. Bend to the neck and let her haunches go toward the house. Perfect, 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 perfect. This is probably what your horse will try to do. Okay, so now go back, and you're going to do an equal bend from nose to tail, which means your outer leg, your left leg, has to be behind the girth. So her nose and her hips in the same line. In this case, keep your right leg forward on the girth. So, yeah, good. So that you push her rib cage over. Well done. Well done. Whoop, don't let her shoulders get too much in advance. We want the nose and the hindquarters in the same line. Try that once more. The beginning was good, and I was not standing in a good place, but it looked like toward the end, the shoulders got out in advance, so her hips toward me. Yep. Make her rib cage go to the left, hindquarter. Yeah. Good correction. Try it once more. That was super correction. She's just trying to find her place of comfort. Yeah, very good. That's it. And praise her. Praise her. Awesome. Awesome. Walk and pat her. That was great. So don't be surprised, people, if you have resistance. The horse is just trying to get into their place of comfort, just like we try to get into the place that we're the most comfortable. So Tootie tried a few escape routes, and Megan very quietly rode through it and said, no, I want you to bend around my right leg. And then when this last one, she had her nose and her hips in the same plane, and the rib cage was going in advance, and that's going to help elongate the muscles on the left side of the body. So in schooling, I wouldn't ride traditional leg yielding because most horses are either left-handed or right-handed. So when I leg yield away from the leg on the hollow side, I ride with no bend, no flexion, or even counterflexion. When I leg yield away from the stiff side, I want to do it with a bend so the rib cage precedes the rest of the body. Now I want to add one thing to the aids of that leg yield. In order to do it with a bend around your leg, you are modifying the position of your right leg in that case. If you bring it back, there's nothing for her to bend around. So in that case, your right leg has to stay forward on the girth rather than traditionally coming back, which you would do if you were doing a normal leg yield with a straight body. Okay, so that was great. Now, another thing that often happens to horses as they start their leg yields is they lose impulsion as they go. And there are several things that you can do to help your horse. We always want to set the horse up for success rather than correct the horse. So we're going to start with a leg yield, whichever way you want to go, in sitting trot, and Tootie's going to lose her power as she goes. And what Megan's going to do is as soon as she, well, let's show the losing of the power. Let her lose her power for a couple of strides, then go rising trot and rise really high. And you can almost think about pushing toward a lengthening, so that you teach the horse that they're to do the leg yield with lots of impulsion. Pull up a little higher, pull up a little higher, and slow down as you go sideways, slower, and rise, and push toward a medium as you go and tell her, good girl. Very good, walk and pet her. That was super. Okay, so she did two things there. She started in the sitting trot and Tootie got slower and slower. And we want to teach the horse that that's not the option. The horse is always going to try to find the path of least resistance to make the work easier. So Megan not only went rising, but she stood in the air very long to make the strides bigger, and she pushed toward a lengthening as she was going sideways. And you can even start that exercise. If your horse historically loses impulsion in the leg yield, you could start the exercise in rising trot, pushing toward a lengthening, and then when you got what you liked, sit for the last couple of strides. You could reverse that exercise. So now let's talk about another common problem, which is it gets back to the same one-sidedness of the horse. In the leg yield, horses will tend to trail with the hindquarters in one direction and lead with the hindquarters in the other direction, flip side of the same coin. So you need to know, once again, which is your horse's hollow side and which is your horse's stiff side, and you need to adjust your aids and change the position of the horse by, you can do several things. You can either speed the shoulders up, or you can slow the shoulders down, but the position of your two hands to adjust the position of the horse's shoulders is to use your two arms as a unit and keep them equidistant from your body and either move them to the left or move them to the right. And that will either hurry up the shoulders or slow down the shoulders so that you get the horse exactly in the right spot. So this is something for you to think about rather than thinking, oh, my horse is trailing the hindquarters, and then you start squeezing really hard with the leg, and then you start falling in the wrong direction, and it's hard for the horse to go. So you're working against yourself. So what I'd like you to do, let's try it once in the walk if you can. And try to use the whole arena coming toward the camera. And I want you just to leg yield across the whole school, but make an adjustment in the position of her shoulders. Slow them down, speed them up, and show how the action of the two reins adjusts her alignment to the rail. Remember, in a leg yield, the horse's spine is basically parallel to the rail, but the front legs should come to the track just a fraction of a second before the hind legs, so it's not 100% parallel. The forehand should slightly be in advance because that's the position we'll be in when we do the more advanced lateral exercise of the half pass. So we want to teach them the right alignment in the leg yield so it's that much easier. We don't have to reteach them when we start half pass. So rather than relying on over pushing with your leg, we're going to adjust the alignment of the horse's body with the reins. Slow the shoulders down, good. And now speed the shoulders up, 2 arms, good. And then slow the shoulders down, 2 arms to the right, good. And now speed the shoulders up, 2 arms to the left, good. And now we know the haunches are trailing, 2 arms to the right. Awesome. Very good. That's super. Let her relax. So think about changing the alignment of your horse's body with the position of your 2 hands. And it's the exact same action of the hands you would do to control the shoulders in a shoulder in. If you wanted to do left shoulder in, your left hand comes to the left of your left hip, the right hand comes to the left close to the withers, 2 hands come to the left, pops the shoulders over to the left. And that's all we're doing is concentrating on the shoulder area of the horse and either speeding it up or slowing it down so we get the exact alignment that we want. Now Megan exaggerated that for me. You wouldn't have to move the shoulders that much to the left, that much to the right. You might only have to move them 1 or 2 inches to the left or to the right. But I wanted you to see just how much control you have over changing the position of the shoulders if you use your 2 arms the same like that. And make sure you keep them equidistant from your body. If you bring one hand closer to your body, you're going to tip your horse over on that shoulder and the horse is going to go on the forehand. So hands stay equidistant from the body as you change the alignment of the horse's shoulders. So let's talk about another thing that happens when riders ride in distress. And what I mean by that is you're trotting along or you're cantering along and you want to do a down transition. And you're stilling your seat and you're asking for a down transition and the horse is like, nobody's home. And so eventually you get frustrated, you ride in distress, and you pull on the reins. And you will get your down transition if you pull on the reins. But if you pull on the reins, you block the hind legs from coming forward, and it's like this vicious cycle. Hind legs stop going forward, back goes down, head and neck goes up in the air. So we want to teach the horse to do the down transition from your back, from your seat, from your retarding seat, tightening your stomach muscles like you're doing a sit-up. And what we're going to do the hardest one. We're going to do a canter to trot transition. And we're going to teach Tootie to respond to the seat alone by doing 2 things. First of all, combining the use of the seat with your voice. You can say whoa or trot or whatever voice command she knows. And secondly, putting her in a position where she can't keep cantering and her only option is to fall into the trot. And then we can reward her. So, and we're going to do a steep leg yield in order to do that, a little steeper than the normal leg yield. And once she learns that the combination of your braced back, holding your tummy muscles, and your voice means to do the down transition, then you can get rid of the leg yield first. And secondly, you can get rid of the voice command and just use your back. So let's pick up a canter on the circle. Good. And you're going to canter around, and you're going to, don't use your back yet because I know she'll be good to your back. Just push the hindquarters out on the circle in a very steep leg yield. Good. And say trot or whoa or whatever she does, even more sideways with the hindquarters, and say good girl, and pick up your canter again. Good. And push the hindquarters out, say slow or whoa, tight, good, good, and just let her fall into the trot. So the steepness of the leg yield makes it difficult. Do one more canter trot normally now, just with your back. So you're just cantering on a straight line, tighten your tummy muscles and see if she trots. No reins. Yep. Send her sideways because she didn't. That was perfect example of what happens and riders resort to pulling on the reins. Good girl, tell her, and walk. So she wasn't quite ready there to do it just from the back, but that was just a perfect example of what happens. You ask in the correct way for the down transition, the horse doesn't give it to you, and you resort to pulling on the reins. I don't want you to pull on the reins because the means do not justify the end. The means, pulling on the reins, do not justify the end of getting into the trot. Better to be able to keep your hands forward in the work area and have her do a forward with the hind legs downward transition. So obviously we'd need to do that exercise over a couple more days until she immediately associates your back, and you can continue to use your voice for a while, your back and your voice with the down transition so that you can get rid of the leg yield and you get the down transition just from your back and your voice and eventually just from your back. That's great. So I just want to do a couple more things with Tootie here. And that is, you know, I've been big in this problem solving content to talk about combination exercises. So I want to give you a couple of combination exercises. The first one we're going to do, and you can do it from the quarter line to the long side, don't go yet because I know you can't hear me very well down there, is a leg yield over to the rail into a couple strides of a rising trot lengthening. And you can sit or rise in leg yield, I don't care, but when you go into the rising, into the lengthening, go rising. One of the reasons I like to do this is with all the wonderful benefits of leg yielding as that loosening, stretching, warm-up, obedience to the leg type exercise. Those are all the benefits, but one of the downsides of leg yielding is it tends to take the desire to go forward away from the horse. So we always want to freshen that desire, and we want to ask the question mentally, are you still in front of my leg? So we're going to do that exercise now. You can go in either direction, and you can do the leg yield rising or sitting, but do the lengthening rising. That's a better shape there with her pole a little higher. Good. Right flexion, good. And lengthen rising. Super, and walk and pet her. Well, obviously Tootie was very much in front of the leg, but you guys know what to do if the horse is not in front of the leg. When you ask for the lengthening, tap, 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 or bump, bump, bump with both of your legs, slow down and retest. So that's a good test both physically, because we know that the leg yield tends to take the desire to go forward away from the horse, and mentally to see if the horse is still thinking forward. Now in a second we're going to do one last suppling exercise. There's all kinds of suppling exercises, as you know, but suppleness is best judged in transitions. So we're going to do a combination exercise, Megan, where you're going to leg yield, and during the course of the leg yield, if you have to start on the center line so you have a little more time, she's going to do a normal leg yield, come to the walk, use your tummy muscles and your voice, walk, and as you step into the walk, keep going sideways, and then do an up transition to the trot, still leg yielding the entire time. Okay? So we're doing a suppling exercise with the leg yield, but we're also combining it with another suppleness exercise, a down and an upward transition. And think right flexion, so she stays straight, and walk as you still go sideways. Good. And trot. Good. Yeah, very nice. And then once more on this quarter line. We'll do it with the back view. So leg yield and walk, and think a little smoother into the trot. Smooth. Yeah, super, super. Walk and pet her, and you can bring her up here. So there you have some common problems and some solutions so that you can really incorporate some good leg yielding into your work. It's the precursor for the advanced lateral work, but also just by itself, it's so great as a suppleness exercise. But if your horse is not crossing high enough up in the knees and the hocks, if the horse is not in the correct alignment, either overbending the neck on the hollow side or being too stiff when you leg yield away from the leg on the stiff side, you're not going to get all of those benefits. So Megan and Tootie, you are stars. Thank you very much.